Welcome to this video on Solid Edge Motion. So here we've got a bike frame on here. So we've got a few different ways of doing this. We can have all our parts in the one level and have them move, or we can make the assemblies adjustable. So if I go into this main frame, if we use drag component, I've actually unticked this box here so this doesn't come up, just to make life a little bit easier for it. We're always going to start with no analysis. We can go to the other levels later on, and we're going to use freeform move. We can then go and select the part. If we can't select a part, it means that that part is grounded and we can't check the motion on that part. So we're going to select the swing arm on here, and we're going to go up and down, and we can see that. Always use a reset button. That will take it back to the position where it needs to be. So this should have a relationship between this bolt here and his bolt here. I've done a parallel with an offset, but I've deleted that to allow this to move. That will kind of represent the shock that we're going to go and put in there. You also have to make sure that you've got all of the correct relationships on there. So if we click on some of these parts, you can see we've got quite a few center plane and relationships, making sure that everything is all lined up on here. There are some little spaces missing off some of these, which I just haven't modelled those. Didn't need to, but got everything else pretty much as it should be on there. Also make sure that like little bits like this are physically constrained in properly. If you do a pattern, they won't update, so I always like to either clone or constrain those in as well. So let's save that and go back to the top level. We've also got similar on the rear shock on there as well. So that's got similar, that adjusts within its degree of freedom. But we want those to adjust in their degree of freedom at this level as well. So if I go down, right click on there, and I choose adjustable assembly, that's going to turn into adjustable assembly. We'll do the same on this one as well. We've now got an adjustable assembly on there. So this is going to tell us that it's going to change the assembly to adjustable motor adjustable part definition. Do we want to continue? Yep, we want to go and make that change on here. So this is actually adjustable part that's actually adjusting to suit on there. So that I need to do an update. So Alter New is an update on there. So if ever the spring doesn't update, you've got to remember that's one level down as well. So sometimes you might need to update that. It's also quite nice as well if you have your variable table. There's a little button on here which will allow us to update all and activate all, so that can also be used as well. Leave that on your second screen when you're doing this. That will allow that to update on there. So now we've got that. That's going to move in its degree of freedom, and that's going to limit. That's going to go and limit that on there as well. One thing to worth noting that I've done on here as well, I've taken a part of the headset and I've grounded that and fixed that to there. Otherwise, we don't know, is the back end going to move, is the front end going to move, so I need to kind of fix a part of this to say to only make the back end move. If we don't have that and we have the adjustable, that's going to it's going to kind of move in the wrong way. Obviously the front end could move, the back end, it doesn't know which part is going to be grounded. It doesn't use the grounded part on the frame itself on there. So now we've done that, we can use drag component again, make sure no analysis and freeform move, and go and select that, and that's going to show that moving. But we can see we've got a slight problem on there. The shock seems to have the relationship that we've got on there doesn't seem to have come across. So let's go and drag that away and reassemble that on there. So let's connect those two components as we're expecting to see it. That's nice. Let's go back to drag. We can see if we drag that, that's the maximum on there. Remember, we need to do the update to get that spring. And let's go and drag that back up again. Choose drag component. Let's go and take that all the way to its limit, and let's do an update on that spring. You will find sometimes if you go all the way from one end from one to another, that's not going to update. So doing that in an interim position, you'll find it's more likely to update if we kind of take it into an interim position rather than going all the way. So let's try and get that updating on there. It might be that I've just got the wrong relationship on there. So let's just take that all the way back and let's do an update. Okay, if it does this, yeah, it kind of doesn't know exactly where to update. We can go and open this part, save it, and go back to there, and then update that. That should allow that item to update. Another way, if you get that problem as well, is to go and change that back to a rigid assembly, and that's going to go and fix that. That's good. And then go back to being an adjustable assembly again on there. Okay, so if I now do a drag, I'm just going to move it a little bit and then update it, and then move it a little bit more, and we can see that updating correctly for us as well. So I'm just going to hide the spring because that's just causing a bit of a, yeah, it's not ideal having that adjustable part in there to kind of make that a little bit more simple. If we go and do a drag and we do it more complex, we want to kind of simplify what we can. So I've got a configuration called motion display. So I've got certain parts missing on there. I didn't actually mean to have that part missing, so I'm going to choose toggle display and go and bring that one back, and go and turn toggle display back off. And I'm going to turn that off and actually get rid of the spring as well. So and then I'm going to, so I've got that as it should be. If I go to display configurations, I can go and update motion display and close. So that is now my motion display one. So if I go back to my full one, I've got everything, lovely. And if I go and choose my motion display, I've got that on there. So I'm limiting the amount of items that we've got showing in that assembly. Looks like I've got another part that I don't actually want, so I'm going to go and get rid of some of these. I think they're just because they're toggled on. Okay, we can also click on these items and just click hide. Obviously that's the rear shock, isn't it there? Okay, so that's all good. So let's go back to drag. So when we're doing our drag check, do like no analysis first, just double check that everything works. Second, we're going to go detect collisions, and now as we kind of move that, it's going to kind of tell us. So this is doing like an interference check as we do it. So if it does this, this normally means that there's an existing interference that we've got a problem with. So it's doing our initial interference check and it's going, we can't do it. So let's give that a little wait. Okay, so that's showing that there's a bit of an issue. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the inspect tab. I'm going to go to check interference. I'm going to go to options, and we're just going to set this to itself. So it just checks every item against every other item. This will be your default setting going forwards. Make sure you don't do this. Make sure you don't do this on a top level assembly, otherwise you'll be there all day. Okay, so I find if you zoom out a little bit, makes it easy. Make sure you don't have perspective on, and then do an accept on there, and then process. And that's then going to go and do that check for us. Can take a few minutes, obviously by reducing those parts means that we've got that, so we can see we've got a little issue on the shock, we've got something clashing on here, so we've got some little kind of modelling errors. So obviously this is going to go and cause issues with the detect collisions one, and especially the physical motion one. So always do this kind of check. I've already gone in and made a little change on here. I've already gone and move that little face up on there because that was actually too low and that was clashing on there. Okay, so that's going to go and cause issues on there. So let's go back, home tab, back to drag component and detect collisions. So if we go back to here, obviously this is detecting those collisions. So let's let this reprocess, and then we'll move this and we'll see the collisions run live. Okay, so we've done the calculation. So notice that if we try and move it, it's trying to do too much calculation with these complex parts. So definitely a good idea to go and remove any interference issues first before we do that. Okay, so let's set this back to no analysis, and let's just have a look. So if we go up and down, we can see what we're doing. We've got this movement here. So another thing that we can do is if we close out of there, we can go and add a motor. We've got rotational, linear, all these options. So for this, I'm going to do a simple rotational one. I'm going to choose the part that I want to rotate, the surface that I want to rotate, and we can go and choose the options that we want on here. So I'm going to go 5 degrees, and I'm going to limit this at, I'm going to go say 15 degrees to start off with, and then finish. And then I'm going to go and choose simulate motor, make sure it's on no analysis, and select OK. This will come up like this, so I tend to click this little button just so it hides that down the bottom. And then if we kind of zoom in again and go and play that, that's going to show that working, and we can see how that's going to look. So that 15 degrees is nowhere near enough. So if we go and increase that, go onto the motor and click edit definition, you can double check that's all set correct. Next, if we go into the motors up here and go to our rotational motor. If we just go to select and select yes when it asks us to keep the animation, and click on the edit definition on there. So let's go a bit more. So I'm thinking something like 35 might work. Once we've done that, we can click back on play. This rotational motor, what we can do is kind of remove and re-add it, or we can delete that from there, and we can right click on motors, edit definition, and that will make sure that we've got the fresh motor in there. So let's go and play that one. So you can see we're still nowhere near where we need to be on there. So let's go back to there. Okay, another thing we probably could have done is kind of use the surfaces to do a bit of a inspect. So if I go and choose the measure command and do, say, that surface, and I might just try and find another flat surface on the frame there. So you can see we've got all sorts of different items, but our angle we're looking for is 4.33. If I then go back to drag component and we go onto there, we can see we've got that in our fixed position, our final position even. And let's go back to measure and measure these same two surfaces. So previously it was 4.33, and now it's 58. So 54.3, something like that, will kind of be about right. So I'm just going to go with 54 on there. So let's go back to our drag, put that back down to its original position. I'm going to go to my rotational motor and our limit. So we went with 54, didn't we? So let's just go, keep that simple. There's probably going to be an additional stop on there or something, which we're not showing. And then let's go back to play. I see we've got this same issue on here. So let's delete, edit definition. Okay, that's got our fresh motor on there. Let's reduce that, and then we're going to go and play that again. Okay, so obviously we can add a couple more degrees if we want to, but I'm assuming there's going to be an additional rubber bump stop or something along those lines on there. We can also go on here and choose edit definition. So let's try this with detect collisions. So this time it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to attempt to do those collisions. The problem is we've got a collision at the start, so it's going to do the same as we got before. So the learning thing here is make sure that we haven't got any collisions at the start. You can see it's doing that, but it's kind of moving. It is moving very, very slowly. You'll see that's doing it and changing, and you can go and see that. But because there's quite complex geometry on there, it's gonna obviously show those issues. Okay, I'll leave that running, and I'll speed the video up so you can see that working when we with the final edit. Okay, so I'm going to stop that there. So we can see that's going to go and do that. There are options to go and say this is a video if you want as well. So that will go and obviously go and take that time as well. So there is an additional tool which I'll do a video in the future on motion as well. We're going to have a look at that, but that will not look at it exactly the same way, but we'll look at that in the future. Okay, hopefully that's been useful. Thank you for the time, and if you can like and subscribe, that would be great. Thank you very much.